Hello guys, welcome to ICC, and now we are going to see the ninth game of Gary Kasparov, and this is between Gary Kasparov playing white and Gyula Sachs from Hungary playing black, and it is played in the interzonal round 1 at Moscow, Russia, September 1982, and the opening is Grenfell defense exchange variation. Okay. Opening is d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5, cd5, knight d5, e4, knight c3, bc3, and bishop g7, and bishop c4. This is called the exchange variation, and it was very popular at that time in the 80s. This game sees the old-fashioned approach, with white's remaining knight coming to e2. The modern approach is the knight would go to f3. Uh, then after castles and bishop e3, white often puts the knight at e2 to enable quick castling. If black adopts a plan with c5 and queen a5, the king will have to get out of the center quickly. Kasparov postpones that move for a bit, choosing a much more aggressive formation. b6. One would think that the black player might have been discouraged from playing this plan, having seen what happened in the earlier games, won impressively by Kasparov. c5 here is the correct plan. Uh, Here white more or less has to play knight e2, leading to the traditional main line. h4. Kasparov clearly declares his ambitions on the king's side. Bishop b7, queen f3. This interesting move allows the queen to take up a kingside position before knight e2 seals the diagonal. Queen d7, knight e2, h5. Black has to play this move, though it does weaken the pawn barrier. Otherwise, white will advance to h5, exchange pawns at g6 and have a lot of fun on the h file. Bishop g5. The pawn at d4 no longer requires the support of bishop. So g5 is a good post for it. The attacking force has assembled. It consists of queen, knight, and a pair of bishops. Knight c6, knight f4. This creates the immediate threat of knight takes g6. Since the f1 is pinned, perhaps a sacrificial opportunity will arise at h5. The knight might also serve well as at d5. So this is an excellent move. e6. Then rook d1, knight a5, bishop d3. White has a well supported center. Then e5. This is a good move by black. The challenge to the knight and pawn at d4 gives black a small initiative. D takes e5, bishop takes e5, castles. White's pawn structure is a bit weak, but the pieces are in better positions, and there can be no doubt that white enjoys a superior position. Queen g4. Kasparov declines the queen exchange. Queen e3, rook fe8, and bishop e2. This move causes the black player some real trouble. If the queen retreats, then white's knight goes to d5. In any case, black is going to have to part with one of his prized bishops to get rid of it. Bishop takes f4, and bishop takes f4. knight c4, a move based on a trick that backfires. Uh, here, here if queen takes h4, here if queen takes h4 would have been answered by e5 with a strong attack. White would have plenty of compensation for the pawn. So after knight c4, uh, bishop takes c4 and rook takes c4. The black player counted on the threats against both the bishops to recover his material, but he couldn't imagine the consequences of f3. Uh, then after f, this might have come as a surprise. White sacrifices the bishop at f4, but then if white trades queen, black is simply a pawn up. Kasparov's conception is very deep. After queen takes f4, there is bishop takes f7 check. This is the key move. If black captures the bishop with the queen, then white can safely take the rook. But if black captures with the king, then f3 captures the rook and the queen is pinned. King g7. And there are no moves that are both capture and check. And the only check, queen d4, is clearly wrong. What about captures? F takes e4 loses the queen. And capturing the rook with the queen doesn't work either. So the queen must move, but to d2 or f2 or d3. Now Kasparov puts his queen to d3. Now the true depth of Kasparov's vision is revealed. The weakness of g6 is critical. Queen e3 check. This solves the immediate problem of keeping the rook and the g-pawn. The exchange of queens does not ease the defensive burden. However, queen takes e3, rook takes e3, rook d7. After king h6, there is rook takes c7 and bishop a6, rook d1, bishop d3, rook d2. The point of this move is to guard the second rank. White plans to let his king join the battle after king f2 and march to f4. Bishop f5, king f2, rook e5, rook d5. Now there is no choice. The e file is wide open. Rook takes d5, bishop takes d5, rook d8, c4, b5, king e3, Here if rook takes a7, then black would play bishop d3. Then if rook c7, then b takes c4, bishop takes c4, uh, bishop takes c4 and queen takes c4. Then rook d2 check, and after king g3, rook takes a2 comes, and white wouldn't make able to make progress against accurate defense. So after this, the king marches towards f4, after a5 now, and king f4, bishop b1. Here b takes c4 and bishop takes c4, rook d4 check. Would have put up stiffer resistance. King f4, then bishop b1, g4. Because white has rook on 7th rank, there is a threat of checkmate at g5. H takes g4, f takes g4, rook f8 check, king g3, and now the black player resigned because the threat of g5 check, followed by the checkmate with bishop f3. I hope you would have enjoyed the game, guys. I will meet you in the next game. Thank you.